I think it's appropriate for me to talk about the day that I fell in love with Nick. And I think, so Nick and I worked together a couple of times. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Wade. Nick and I worked together a couple of times. The first time we worked together was at the Greek Cuisine in downtown Portland. He was waiting tables, I was tending bar. We got to know each other on kind of a surface level during those years. In 2004, I began tending bar at the Keg Steakhouse in Lake Oswego, and Nick was applying for a serving job. I had to coax the manager into hiring Nick, but eventually she took my word for it and she hired Nick. And one night, after work, we went out and we were singing some karaoke at the Dublin Pub. The Dublin, right? Hopefully most of us have a fond memory of the Dublin Pub. Well, Nick got up and he started singing a Janis Joplin, Me and Bobby McGee. And he sat down on a stool. Well, we know it's a Chris Christopherson song. He wrote it, but Janis Joplin was the one who recorded this one. Made it a hit. Nick sits down on a stool, and for those of us that know and love Nick, he's about 12 IPAs deep at this point. He sits down on the stool, and he gets it started. And from the moment he gets it started, it's an absolute, and he's heard me tell the story before, an absolute train wreck. And Nick and I we're friends at this point. We're not deep. We're not deep at this point. And I'm watching this happen going, oh my God, this is crazy. This is not going to go over well. And you can see it begin to kind of build. And it's a little bit off key. And the tone isn't quite there, and then all of a sudden it picks up, and you see things begin to pick up, and all of a sudden this passion begins to come through, and you see the waiting for a train, feeling near's fingers behind you, and all of a sudden you hear that song pick up. And when the high notes come and the song really picks up and the notes really begin to hit, Nick is on his feet and he's got the entire Dublin Pub behind him cheering for him, going crazy for what's happening as this whole thing came up. And that was the very first moment that I began to see just this absolute passion that existed within this guy with whatever it was that he did. It didn't matter if it was singing Bobby McGee. It didn't matter if it was charming the table that he was talking to, waiting tables. It didn't matter if it was, learning to play guitar, which I watched that whole process happen as well. Which, Nick, you can play guitar. He's writing songs about Jon Snow these days, if you're a Game of Thrones fan. You can see it on YouTube, I promise. It's there. But that was the moment that I began to really understand the depth and the passion, and that was the very first time that I ever saw it, and it hasn't stopped ever since that point. Nick reveals that passion to you every chance that he gets an opportunity. There's highs, there's lows, there's goods, there's bads, ups and downs, strikes and gutters. He knows it. Strikes and gutters. I'll be there, dude. I'll be there. But that's the one thing that I was never able you were never able to just not see when you hung out with this individual right here, is an emotional, passionate individual who just literally grabs life by the horns and just wrestles it to the ground, beats its head up, and then says, man, that was fun. We should do that again tomorrow night. Regardless of how beat up he might have been the night before. And it takes a special person to come along and balance that out. It takes a very special person to come along and balance that out. And I remember there was a moment, there was a time where some of that had kind of settled a little bit. And I remember the day that we started talking about Katie, and I remember the day that Katie came into his life, and I remember the day that I met Katie. And all of a sudden, the IPAs came back, and the partying came back, and the drinking came back, and the Nick came back, and the emotion and the passion, and all of that stuff was there again. And that was the day that we realized, and the way that he talked about Katie was different than the way that he talked about Anna, the way they talked about Wade, the way they talked about Trevor, the way they talked about other people, life was in balance again. And it felt really good to have that person back, singing the karaoke, drinking the IPAs, singing Bobby McGee, and that passion just returned. And the culmination of all of that, you know, kind of starts today at this point right now. And I'm very happy to be up here. I wasn't actually going to give a toast, but it seems appropriate at this point right now for me to say, if we could all please raise our glasses, give a huge salute to Mr. and Mrs. McHenry, because it is one of the most passionate groups, a couple of people I've ever known in my life. Nick, Katie, stay on your feet or lose your feet. Congratulations, I love you both. To Mr. and Mrs. McHenry. At this point,